Yo, I take it now, I promise. No more rain, I bring in sun rays, I promise. Let's test our fate in this pot of blue state. Prove our love to these people in this world that hate and make something magical. Perfection sounds impractical. You're not far from it, that last statement was factual. I love will stand the test of time, so please keep in mind when it comes to you needing me, I'm not hard to find. I just want to say thanks for letting me in. Hold it up now, let it start, let it begin. And yo, we keep it moving, yo, it's far from illusion. You can be my Katie Holmes, I could be your Tom Cruising. Is it safe to say forever in my heart you stay? Cause truthfully, I wouldn't have it any other way. Hopefully, I could really brighten up these days. I know when you're around, I'll be okay.
I'm just standing, throw my hands tied, searching for the right words.
Right words, the right words. Come on, come on.
But it's funny because like De La said, instead of keeping it real, you should try keeping it right.
Yeah. That's the best quote ever.
So break it down, keeping it real. What does keeping it real mean to you, and where do you think people get it twisted?
Well, I mean, I think when people, first of all, it's an old slang,
right?
You know, old term, and I think, you know, back when people said that, I think people were, you know, kind of like, you know, I'm gonna keep it real, like I'm gonna keep it, you know, 100% honest. And I think the term just got kind of like played out, and everybody just, you know, says it whenever, and have said it, and kind of just kind of exploited it. But to me, I think with people say keeping it real, I mean, you know, sometimes keeping it, like Chappelle used to say, keeping it real goes wrong. Like sometimes you can keep it so real with things, and to the point that it could backfire on you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you know, you could be the type of person who just keeps it real and has a one-track mind, and has a mindset, and has a certain, either a standard of living or whatever to them, and they hold it to that account, and they hold it, their focus, and they stay on it, and to, you know, that could be keeping it real too. I mean, there's a lot of ways, you know, you could throw it out there, but you know, sometimes, I mean, it could be keeping it real, it could be keeping it rough too, right? You know, so
realness isn't always pretty, man.
And I think that's where a lot of people get it messed up, man. Like keeping it real, and they think, well, you know, yeah, I'm keeping it honest, but sometimes, you know, you being honest and being too honest, which I think everybody should be.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, the reality of it is people don't want people to be honest unless it's convenient for them. You know what I'm saying? And that's not keeping it real. You know.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think I think people need to take that into account when they say that or when they hear it. You know, it's one of those things where you hear people say it so much that it's kind of lost its way, but that's how it is, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you were saying, but yeah, everybody talks a big game.
Everybody talks a big game, man.
Yeah.
Everybody, you know, everybody talks a big game. Everybody wants to be a player. And, you know, I don't know. I think being older, man, and when you do hip hop and you're older, you kind of, it goes from being like, okay, I'm a young guy, I'm looking up to these guys, my heroes, I'm trying to dress like them, I'm trying to talk that slang, I'm trying to be cool like them. Like when you get older, man, you start thinking like, okay, one day there's gonna be some kid that's watching you.
Right. And
if I was ever, you know, if I'm ever fortunate enough to have somebody that's like, yo, I want to be like on some Jax type stuff, like, you know, I don't want anybody to be like, yo, I like his stuff, but like there was that time where he did some off the wall whack. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, when people start paying attention to you, man, that's when the game changes, especially when you get older, because you start, you know, I can't really do this. I can't really be talking about this because I'm not really living this. Like it's, you know, it's a different ball game. But how can I talk about this and still make people like it without thinking it's all, you know, well, you know, old man rap. You know what I'm saying? But that's where the challenge comes in. You know, because now the fans are younger, and you might end up saying something, and somebody be like, "Oh, I don't get it," But now you got Google, so
Yeah.
you know, I've seen cats get on Google and, you know, try to figure out what some, you know.
Well, I mean, hip hop.
It's, you know, it's big.
Hip hop is still a relatively young art. I mean, and it's reaching like another generation now.
Yeah.
You know, like our generation, the generation even before us, is of the hip hop generation.
Right.
So, do you see that maybe changing the audience dynamic? You know, like for instance, here's what I always say: is it's funny how the Rolling Stones can go out and rock stadiums,
Right.
but Public Enemy goes out and they gotta rock clubs with 300 people.
Right.
Why
When they were
there,
at a point when they did that, you know.
yeah, and why isn't there a classic rock type atmosphere in hip hop?
You know what, man? That's a good question. Nobody's ever asked me that before. And I think there should be, you know, like how a classic rock, you got what, your Stones, the Who, Zeppelin.
Any of those bands got back this summer, they sell out sell out stadiums.
Especially if some of the dudes are still alive, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I think there should be, man. I think there should be like kind of like a form that's kind of compared to classic rock. You got classic hip hop, and I think it is, man. But I think a lot of people that are getting into hip hop now are kind of just jumping into it. I'm not saying all, but I think a lot of cats that are jumping into hip hop kind of aren't. They're not going back to where it started. They're not doing their homework. They're not going, you know, back to that original boom bap type. You know, the stuff that motivated most of the guys that they looked up to.
It's funny because like I see like kids who listen to modern rock and roll, let's say, or what, you know, they go back, they listen to Kiss, they listen to Zeppelin, they want to know where it came from. Hip hop, it's like there's no history. That nobody wants to go back into history. Right. I don't see young kids listening to KRS and Run DMC and you know Public Enemy. I don't see that. Yeah,
and I don't know why it's like that. You know what I mean? Like you would think.
Because rock and roll is the whole Guitar Hero dynamic now.
Right. And see, and you got like, you know, I've seen like my friends that have kids that are like early teenagers, you know, now they know about Led Zeppelin and Rush and Van Halen and all this stuff from, you know, the Guitar Hero and stuff. And like with hip hop, man, you know, I think, because, you know, you had that phase where it was getting a bad rap, and anytime something violent happened, oh, it was hip-hop's fault. It was rap music's fault. And because it's the rap, the energy and the hate and the aggression comes out and makes people wild out. I think, you know, when you had that going on for a while, it kind of put a dark cloud over it. But once I think people started realizing that, you know, it's positivity coming out, you do have a lot of young minorities that are being successful out of it now, and they're getting out of like bad environments they grew up in and stuff like that. I think that's when it was like, okay, you know, now I understand. And I feel like now it's kind of starting to catch up.
It's like they only go back in history to Biggie and Tupac. They don't go beyond it.
Nobody go, But you know, I think because the whole nostalgia of that whole beef, and it was kind of like you had two guys that were kind of like James Dean kind of guys, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think because of that, and they were both really talented, I think that's what people always stop at, you know, and that was such a big impact in hip hop. People forgot about, you know, the dudes before them, you know.
But do you think that hurts the progression of hip hop now?
I mean, I don't think so. You know, like I said, there are some young guys out there, man, who know what's up, who did their homework, who stay on it. You know what I'm saying? Who still do the music they want to do. You know, I don't really think it slowed the. I don't really think it slowed the progression up. I think it's just something that cats can still go back now and kind of fix, right, as far as, you know, what type of style they want to develop, then go back and kind of see, you know, type of production that went on in the 90s and the early 2000s and the lyrical, you know, because like there's a lot of guys, man, who kind of remind me of certain other guys, you know, that are coming back to that. It's all full circle. I think now it's starting to come back because people are kind of tired of what's going on now, because it sounds, first of all, doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And it just sounds like there's no heart in it. It just sounds like garbage, you know.